Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I am your host, Kevin L. Powers. I'm also the owner-operator of Something Wicked Entertainment, and I want to welcome you to our podcast in which I discuss an individual horror film from any different type of subgenre and decade, and then I bring on a special guest or two to kind of have a conversation with me about this film. We love to have conversations about films because we never know where they're going to go, and that's part of the enjoyment of listening to us talk about that film. Now, what I love to do is bring on a different guest. So every time you listen to our show, we have different guests on there with different opinions about the film we are talking about, which makes it a very entertaining and engaging conversation. Today's film that we're talking about is a more recent film, which we don't always get a chance to do, but we are doing one today, and that is Heretic from 2024. And to discuss this movie with me, I have brought on Mr. Philip Ray, and I want to thank you, Philip, for joining us on this conversation about this film.
Thank you for having me.
So, first thing I always love to get out the way is I kind of want to know when and how you saw this film for the first time and kind of like your immediate impressions of the film.
So with Heretic, I remember I saw this in theaters. I remember seeing the trailer. And for the listeners who don't know, the plot of Heretic is basically these two Mormon girls go visit, they're going on their missionary, going house by house, and they land in this house of this man, played by Hugh Grant, who basically kind of starts to make them question their faith, and it turns very dark, very horror dark, as it goes on. And I saw the trailer for that, and I saw Hugh Grant as a bad guy, as a killer. Sign me up. So I went to go see it, and I was not disappointed. I very much enjoyed this movie.
I unfortunately did not get the chance to see this at the theater. I wish I had seen it at the theater because I really enjoyed it, but I had to wait until it was streaming, and then obviously I cut it on streaming. And one of the reasons why we're discussing it today is because you brought it to my attention and you really wanted to talk about it. So it's going to be interesting because we don't normally talk about more recent films. So it's always interesting because I unfortunately have not had the time to allow the film to sit and gestate with me for a while, to think about some of those more elaborate ideals. And that is a lot of what is in this film. This film is crafted to be a very psychological and really well-written film with a really good cast, I might say. It's a small cast, but it's a really good cast.
Yes. I mean, the biggest thing with this movie is the theme of religion. And the stuff is like, and depending on your faith, be it however denomination, or if you're atheist or you're agnostic, this movie will have an opinion of you of which way. Because again, like, I mean, the whole premise is about basically these two Mormon girls who have to basically having their faith questioned by essentially a atheist man and stuff. So like, and that is one of the things about this movie. So to give context to the listeners and stuff, I personally am an agnostic. For people that don't know what that means, that basically means I do believe there is a God, but I'm not really settled on a particular religion. And so for me, like, there's stuff like, and what I like about this movie with that is I call it the South Park effect a little bit, where they are they're doing this very tastefully. It is a very tasteful talk of religion, where Hugh Grant's character points out a lot of things that a lot of atheist people or even agnostic people will point out about religion and stuff. But the thing is, it's very easy to go in the trappings of just bashing religion, saying it's bad, and all that stuff. But the thing is that both the Mormon girls are played very smart, and it's a movie that, especially the two missionaries, the two girls and stuff, they're very layered, and that's one thing I really like, especially Sister Paxton's character, played by Chloe East. She was the surprise for me for this movie, because you watch it and you make a lot of assumptions about her character, and they went out the window as the movie progresses and stuff, because you think this story is Sister Barnes' character, played by Sophie Thatcher, And that's the clever part about this movie. It flips your expectations in the middle of the movie, and you realize this is Paxton's story, not Barnes' story. And I thought that was done very clever.
Interesting. Interesting because I actually was expecting that too because I knew who Sophie Thatcher was from her shows Yellow Jackets and some of the other films that she's done. So I'm really familiar with her, but I was not familiar with Chloe East at all. She was the odd person out. So I was thinking, I really was when I was watching this, thinking that something would happen to her because I did not know who she was. I do like the way the film is crafted because it's kind of a slow burn at the very beginning because it's kind of like the way Hugh Grant's Mr. Reed is portrayed is he's like slowly putting out those little morsels about faith because he wants to first kind of entice them and get them like he's like a fisherman. He wants to hook them first before he reels them in, and then before he gets that hook stuck in their mouth and really gets them on his line. So he does this really clever thing with the Monopoly game. It was Monopoly, right?
Yes, it was Monopoly.
Okay, dude. For a second there, I almost forgot what game it was. With the Monopoly game, which I thought was absolutely brilliant.
That it was such a great scene. That scene is so good because it really breaks again, this is written so well of like this is all so well written about the way they ended up talking about religion in general, and even going back to the girls again about like how, Hugh Grant's amazing, and he kills it in this role and stuff. I'm so glad he took this on because it was so different. Because again, you look at Hugh Grant and he is, again, you buy him as his character and stuff.
Yeah.
And what's good too about it is again, they make how the girls get in the situation realistic because they're missionaries and everyone, if any, it's not as common, I feel like, today, but definitely for a long while, a couple years ago, it was very common of, missionaries knocking on your door. Hey, would you like to talk about so-and-so religion for a moment? Like, that was a very common thing. And again, what's smart about this movie is there's really not a time where these characters are very smart. This movie easily could be written in a way where you sit with Hugh Grant's character and he basically just lectures these girls and these girls have nothing to say back, and it's a one-way conversation, and it's not. Throughout the movie, it's a two-way conversation where the girls are smart and, they respond as well as they could and stuff. They don't back down. They don't take it and stuff, and it makes them compelling characters because of that.
Well, the thing is, they react the way they react due to their experience in the real world, which is one of the very first scenes we see with the two girls when they're discussing penis size and pornography, which is an interesting conversation for two missionaries to actually have. But that's one of the conversations that they're having while they're going door to door with their missionary work. It's actually really telling because they're kind of given their experience and or lack of experience with both of these topics, and this is what they find to pass the time with. You don't get a sense that these two girls have been doing this for a really long time, especially not the Paxton character, because she seems more naive in this respects. But as the story goes on, you realize that she may be naive in this respects because of her faith, but she's not naive in other respects. Like, she's very, very, very smart in other respects, which drives her through the rest of the film.
That's the thing, is like, she's such a smart character because yes, you start the movie out with the conversation and she's a naive character, but she's not dumb. And that's that's very common writing. You see a lot of movies where the naive character is dumb.
Yeah.
And this movie, she's not. She is not dumb. And that was because you start the movie out And like you said, you're like, okay, something's going to happen to one of these girls, and you go, okay, obviously it's going to be the naive girl and stuff. It's going to be the girl and stuff. That's the trope and stuff. And when it doesn't happen, and when she is okay, and nothing happens to her, and something happens to other sister, you're like, oh, well, how's this movie going to work? And that's what makes it so good is
Yeah.
that she is. Then we start to see her because the first half of the movie, you're seeing Barnes's character. You're seeing her layers, and the second half of the movies, you're seeing Paxton's layers of her character and stuff. And that's when you get to see, like, realize, oh, this character is more. There's more to her than just, oh, she's just naive.
Well, I think that's because the Barnes character, has been doing this for a little bit longer, and so she's not like 120% bought into her religion like Paxton has. So she has her reservations, which makes up her character, which makes her question things, and she questions a lot of what Mr. Reed is saying, and she'll fight. So she has it's not so much fight back, but she has alternatives to what he's saying. Whereas Barnes has to, not Barnes, but Paxton has to learn these things. She's gaining more knowledge the longer she spends with Barnes and the longer she spends hearing Barnes and Reed talk. So that by the time she gets to that position where she's left by herself with Mr. Reed, she's talking very much like Barnes because she's learned so much in such a short amount of time just by being around these two. And I really like that because in this short amount of time, she grows a lot because of the situation that she is put in. I mean, and it's some of it's not just physical, like the references to the Monopoly game, because there's multiple different interpretations to what he's saying, and as he's trying to convince them of his ideology, Barnes is always saying, "Whoa, whoa, 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 hold back one moment. It could also mean this because you're forgetting this." And the
Yeah.
way these conversations go between these three characters is just simple magic. I mean, I love listening to these three talk and have their little what does it call it? Shit, I forgot there's a word for
Debate.
uh there's a word for the conversation between these people, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. But it's just it's really what this is a really well written script. Like it's like, oh damn, I wish dialogue like this was in every movie sometimes. You know?
Well, it's interesting too because apparently, it's a little fun behind the scenes. Hugh Grant improv'd a while, like he improv some of his stuff. So like, to basically she did that because to keep both Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East on their toes a lot. So like one thing that was improv is when Hugh Grant's character mispronounces Angel Moroni's I think I mispronounced that too, and Chloe East's character corrects him. That was an improv, and that was a moment that again it was like so again it's again Hugh Grant just the thing is both the cast just carried all three cast members carried it, but Hugh
Yes.
Grant definitely, I mean, he soaks every moment of this. Like he is just again he does it so well. You're basically it's like you're sat in a chair watching a debate happen for a good chunk of the
Debate.
movie.
Good. That's what it is. It's like a debate. It's like a debate. That's what it is exactly between these characters.
It is a debate. It's only until we get to the second and third act of the movie when things start to shift in the more really horror aspect of the where we see characters start to die. We see we get the scene with the pie and stuff, and that's when we start to see more and stuff. And what I like is again even the end message and stuff like what Hugh Grant's character's trying his message, what he's trying to tell them about religion being controlled and stuff like that was something that again I liked. Again, like anytime there were moments that that was done, it was done very tastefully
Hmm.
and
I
stuff.
think, well, yeah, because the movie doesn't preach.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep saying debate because you just brought up a great word that I didn't think about when I was watching the movie. That's a brilliant fucking word to describe what happens in this movie. Because they're debating this topic, but the topic doesn't overtake the film. It doesn't become preachy on either side, and I think that's what makes this film work so damn well. It could have gone really fucking preachy, and it could have turned off a lot of people. Because, and I this movie does a really good job of finding that fine line and staying on that line the entire time and not crossing over on either side.
Again, this is why I say I allude to South Park because like something like a Book of Mormon or South Park's done some episodes with this where they do they kind of poke fun at some of the religions and stuff? Yes, but at the same time they are being respectful at the same time and not saying, oh, religion's all bad, we should get rid of it and stuff. No, they go, there is a point for it. And again, there's a point for it and stuff. It's not all bad, this, that, and the other and stuff. Again, it's done tastefully. Again, in this movie too, it's done tastefully. You could have had Hugh Grant's character. Again, a good example is you could have had Hugh Grant's character just preach the entire time and poke holes in religion the entire time, and then the other characters start to doubt themselves, and then and that's the movie. And it's like, no, and it's a proper debate, it's a proper dialogue the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, it could have gone off the rails in terms of religion. I think like Saint Maud or Martyrs does, where it just kind of goes all. It kind of does both of those movies to kind of go over the edge, a little bit, depending on which version of Martyrs you watch. Sometimes that could turn people off, and sometimes it can make for an interesting debate, like this film does. I think this movie is much more successful and much more accessible for general audiences because of the way in which it's handled. Not only because it's got Hugh Grant in it, who does a phenomenal fucking job. Um,
Hmm.
Now,
So,
go ahead.
well, so now, speaking of topic and debates and stuff with this, I'm curious about this. This is something that rewatching again helped me better because the first time I watched it, I did not like it, but watching the second time, I got a little more what's going on, and it helped me a little bit better. Is the ending and stuff because the ending, that's when the third act, that's when we go really horror movie and less psychological and stuff. And when it first happened, I was a little taken back by it and stuff. You have characters who supposedly die, not die. You have a moment, and then there's a lot of vagueness about what happens at the end and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. It wasn't until my second viewing that I saw there was a lot more debate on that interpretation of is this happening, or is this something that again it's one of those, again, the movie paves as a way where you the audience member have to decide, did the character get out or did the character not get out of the situation? Uh, because uh, and that is, and you could go either way with that. And I've saw a lot of interesting comments and debates online about that. I've seen either direction where the characters did get out of the situation, and some points about how they didn't get out of the situation and stuff. And so I'm curious, Kevin, your thoughts on it about that.
So, first off, I want to say the ideal of these two girls, Barnes and Paxton, being given a choice for most of the film by the Reed character. Of course, he demonstrates to them the Monopoly game, and then of course he gives them a choice for which door to go to for their own salvation, forcing them, whether unconsciously or consciously, depending on how you see the film, to go down the stairway to the basement where most of the rest of the film takes place. Because Paxton wants to take the other door and not the door that they already know leads down to the basement. And then what they find down there is not what they're expecting.
Which is also interesting too, because in the end they revealed that it didn't matter which door they took, because it led to the same place, was also, a fun little thing too.
Yeah, they lead to the same place. But the ideal that when they go down there, it becomes then they've already been hoodwinked by Mr. Reed. Mr. Reed has now hoodwinked them to, instead of it being a debate, he now has to prove to them that his ideology is right and what they believe is wrong, by orchestrating the martyr, the resurrection of someone who dies willingly. I don't want to reveal all the stuff because there's a much deeper and darker nature to Mr. Reed's character that we find out in the third act that then kind of unravels some things but doesn't unravel everything, because you kind of wonder ultimately what is Mr. Reed's modus operandi. Why is he doing this elaborate ruse to people who are extremely religious? Because you got to remember, these two girls were invited there. They didn't knock on his door randomly. He had invited them beforehand, and this was a place they were assigned to go. And that's a telling detail.
Yeah. No, that was definitely done very well, and stuff. Yeah, the one thing I will say, and I've heard people nitpick, and I do agree, is it's implied later that these are not the first. This isn't the first time he's done this and stuff. And you kind of get into this is one of the things you kind of have to let go of. It's the whole thing of, it happens in horror movies sometimes, okay, why didn't this person get caught already and stuff? Especially because, like you said, these girls he wrote himself down to be seen. It wasn't like they just showed up to his door and stuff. Which also, on that note, in a really weird casting choice, Topher Grace plays the elder person, and I remember I almost didn't recognize him the first time around, but I remember after I was like, why did you cast Topher Grace here? I'm like, he's very underutilized, which, I mean, it's fine. That role is not very done, but I was just like, you could have casted anyone in this role. You didn't have to cast Topher Grace in this role. It's so weird to see him in here, and he doesn't really do anything.
Stunt casting. A lot of times that's stunt casting, really. It's weird because I kind of considered Hugh Grant stunt casting already. So to do Topher Grace in there was, and the other thing is Topher Grace could have read the script like a lot of people read scripts, and they like the script so much, but they don't fit the main male character, so they'll take the other character. It'd be interesting though, because this is really just a 4-person play, a 4-person film, and Topher Grace's character is only in a handful of scenes. So it's really just 3 people. I don't count the so-called martyr victim that we don't really get to see too well.
No, I mean, yeah, the other victims I don't really, I don't really count them either and stuff. Yeah, it was very interesting. I was just like, I very much had a moment. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird for you to be here.
I didn't expect him there until I saw his name come up on the credits. I was like, oh, I didn't know he was in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little unrecognizable, and again, he's barely in the movie. You don't really register it right away.
I could see this film in particular being a script that a lot of people read and really gravitated towards because of how well it's written. I do not hazard to guess that he was given the script and either he really loved it, which is why he took the small role, or someone gave he wanted to really work with him or something like that. Because this does not seem like a film that he would normally be associated with or be in. unless
Yeah,
he's trying to branch out. Unless he's really trying to branch out, really.
yeah,
So
it's interesting about about Hugh Grant's involvement in this because basically, like, apparently he was the directors and writers. It's this is writer director combo. Uh, they saw Hugh Grant do an interview where basically he was tired of being typecasted, so they wrote Mr. Reed's character with Hugh Grant in mind, and they talked to him about it, and it took him a while to agree to it because he wanted to get all the details, but he was just like, "Oh, okay, yeah, no, this is uh he was like, "Oh, this is very interesting."
well, it's not his first villain role. I'm sure he loves to do it because he got the equivalent of a UK Academy Award for his performance in Paddington 2 as being the villain. And he's fucking brilliant as a villain in that if you've ever seen it. So I'm not surprised that he would do something like this now because being a villain is a lot more fun.
Yeah,
And this one does give him a lot to do. This is for a chamber made type of film in a really small amount of locations. There's a lot that he gets to do because of how well it's written and what's in the script. I mean, even the ideal of him playing with the model version of his house as he's manipulating the two to going to where he wants them to go is actually a brilliant piece. I mean, we've seen something similar in other films, but it's really interesting in this film because it's part of the theme. He's manipulating these people, and now he's manipulating their little character pieces in his own little model house. I just thought that was absolutely brilliant, and it keeps popping up throughout the whole movie.
oh, and it was they used that, they showed that in the trailer too, and that was such a good, the trailer cut so well with
So
that.
I don't remember seeing the trailer for this movie at all.
Oh yeah, no, it was part of the trailer, and it looked so, again, like that was one, again, the trailer was cut very well, included stuff like that. That was like, oh, this is really cool and interesting.
Yeah, by the time I saw the movie, I did not. I honestly cannot remember the trailer or if I even saw the trailer. I probably just knew that this movie had Hugh Grant in it, and decided, oh shit, I need to see that because I've always liked Hugh Grant, even in those romantic films that he was pigeonholed in for the longest time. I always liked Hugh Grant. I always thought he was an interesting actor. But when I saw him, I saw when I heard he doing this one, I was like, oh yeah, after seeing Paddington 2 and some of his other more recent films, I was like, oh yeah, I'm there for that. Which is why I am so ashamed and sad to say that I missed it at the theater because this is a film I would have loved to have seen on the big screen. Would have loved it. Um, and not just because of Hugh Grant. I think the film is really well done. Even when we get into the third act, where we're stuck in the basement for a lot of it and that kind of like production design, set design is a little bit dirty and grimy compared to what we saw in the first half of the film when he's up there giving them tea and what was it, blueberry pie that they're
Yeah.
expecting to get. Those little subtle things in the script just had me rolling. I was like really enjoying some of the little subtleties that were in this film and why I think it's so well written. Um, and then of course the reveals. That's one thing that I was not expecting. Some of the reveals, almost like Mr. Reed's like a little magician playing a trick on everybody. And then of course when those tricks are revealed, it's like, oh shit, why didn't I see that before? I think it's really cleverly done in this film and executed from a directing standpoint.
Oh yeah, no, like I 100% agree. The reveal, again, like the reveals are great. Like, again, there's a lot of things about the first half of the movie that's just really good.
Yeah. And the film keeps actually escalating too.
Yes.
Like if you thought the very beginning was kind of like this slow burn psychological film, by the time you get into that third act, when it's ramping up, it's like really getting to that point and it all makes sense
Yes.
what happens. That's the thing that really drives this film home is that it doesn't seem so over the top elaborate to be completely unbelievable. I mean, like completely unbelievable. Even some of the reveals about what Mr. Reed has been doing for how God knows how long down there in his little house to prove his point. um, I thought was really well handled. There are some films that go a little bit too far, and then it takes you out of the overall film. I'm going to bring up another recent film, a 2025 film that does this, and that is Dangerous Animals. That does that. I recently saw that one as well, and some of the concepts in that film seem it get to the point where it seems repetitive and it seems the downright boring aspects because the writing with the characters isn't nearly as great or as engaging as it is in this film. This film has a lot of stuff that keeps the audience engaged, not just visually, but psychologically and through through the dialogue and through the actors that I think elevated above something like Dangerous Animals. Not to say I don't enjoy Dangerous Animals. It's fun stupidity, but it was not on the same level as Heretic.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
I want to get to some other aspects of the film that you enjoyed. I'm trying to, if you haven't noticed, audience, I'm trying to avoid a lot of the spoilers for the third act of this movie because I don't want to spoil it for you if you haven't seen it because this is still a recent film. So we're going to try and do that as much as we can, but sometimes we might do a little bit of it because we have to sometimes.
Yeah. Um, the yeah, I mean, like with this movie again, I think it's very I mean, it's very hard to say a little bit because again, it is done very well. Again, I do think without going into spoilers, again, the third act is where it becomes more just horror movie, and I again, my first viewing, I had a little bit of a problem with it, especially with a reveal again of something a character does, and I was like, what? But again, second viewing, having the context of, okay, think of it in another light, I'm like, oh, okay, I that's not as bad for me. But but yeah, I mean, again, I think this is just again, I don't have any other words to say. Again, it's like I very much enjoyed the movie. Again, I enjoyed the cast. I enjoyed the topic. Uh, again, uh, again, it's just very well done. Again, I love the mini houses that the mini house that Hugh Grant touches and stuff. Like, um, yeah.
So
I don't
I
have.
do want because we're not for everyone listening because we're trying to avoid doing spoilers for this one since it is a recent film. I do want to point out the fact that this film in no way wants to be preachy in of how it is resolved at the end. It leaves a very ambiguous interpretation that actually, in my opinion, satisfies everything that they set up beforehand. One of the great things about the film is that after I watched it, I kept thinking about it even more about some of the stuff I had just witnessed and how I felt about how it all resolved. I'm not going to go into details about it, but I do like it when films like this that actually speak and talk about religion in a horror atmosphere actually leaves it up to the audience's interpretation about what they've seen and how they feel about how it was all resolved. I do not like the preachy movies. I have seen a lot. There are some that I enjoy, some that I don't enjoy. I just don't tend to gravitate towards those type of films as often as I do films that present that same type of material, but allows me as an audience member to interpret it and feel for myself. And that's what this film does for me.
Yes, I 100% agree. It's Yeah, no, I 100% agree. The third act is going to be one of those things again. They're not going to they're not going to fully again, it's one of those things of you can take it at face value or you can think more about it. It's there's no wrong answer with it. It's however you interpret it, which again is a good analogy of the whole movie of like the whole movie is listen, if you're really religious and you watch this movie and stuff, you It's up to you and how you interpret stuff, and how you interpret some of the characters, the dialogue and stuff. That's up to you again and where you are. And again, if you're not religious and you walk into this movie, I think this what's good about this movie is I think if you are on either side of the spectrum or in the middle, I think if you walk into this movie, I don't think as long as, you are willing mentally to have a dialogue, I don't think you'll be upset. You know, I'll say this, if you're the type of person that had to walk out of Book of Mormon, maybe don't watch this movie. Because like again, if there are people that just can't don't want to mentally have that type of dialogue, and that's fine. But, if you are the type of person that are okay with it and like it, then I think you will be very happy. You will be very happy with the movie.
You know what? You bring up a great comment. People who walk out of Book of Mormon. I do know some people who walked out on the Book of Mormon because they did not obviously know what they were getting into when they went to go see it. I think they assumed because it was a Book of Mormon, it was going to be about one thing. But if they had known it was a Trey Park and Matt Stone production, they would have entirely knew what they were walking into. But I do know people who walked out of that, and I'm like, dude, the music is fucking funny as shit. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure the show is just as funny as the music is because I haven't listened to the music. And you're right. If you don't know what you're getting into before you go in, you may be completely disappointed. But I believe if you're open-minded, truly, utterly open-minded, then you can grasp on something that this film has to say without getting overly offended. And that's not a quality that there is a lot of horror films out there that delve into religion. And I think that's why it's so hard for those type of films to actually delve into religion, is because it's hard to ask those questions of an audience and not give them a specific answer and or outlet or version of religion. I think it's really hard, and I think this film does a really good job juggling that and letting the audience discover and find out for themselves.
Yeah, no, and you're right. There are, especially like, and we're getting a lot more in this modern horror films where they're wanting you to, they try to, be more about certain messages and have you think. This movie, I think, is one of the good examples of modern movies with that, where again, it's a horror movie, but it makes you think. It is not a brain. It's, a lot of times with horror movies, people like to, again, people associate with the slashers and they think, oh, it's just a slasher and this, that, and the other. And it's like, no, Hugh Grant's character isn't just a slasher. He's a character that makes you think that, again, like the movie makes you think.
Yeah. And for one, I think we need a lot more of those type of movies out there, whether they're horror films or not. I think it is a great ideal to craft movies that allow the audiences to question their ideals. It could be faith or it could be art, it could be virtually anything, but it questions their ideals and make them see and experience other ideals. And hopefully that will allow them to grow. I tend to love watching any type of film from any type of country, any type of genre, because every film that I watch will essentially add to my knowledge about film and allow me to enjoy all of these types of films out there. So,
yeah.
Philip, we've tried to avoid a lot of the spoilers for this film, and I know there is a lot of spoilers that we could do, but we're not going to do because it's a recent film and we want audiences to go out there and watch this damn movie. But is there anything else that you can think of that we have to touch upon for this film? So,
not really. One other behind the scenes fun fact here is both Sophia Thatcher and Chloe East are former Mormons, actually. So that was one thing. That's a nice little behind the scenes fact of like, they both are not still Mormons, but both of them were raised Mormons. So that was the thing, authenticity with this movie and stuff. Again, about the directors being respectful for the subject. And even, again, I think Mormons do get a lot of flack sometimes. And so that was something, again, like the fact that he casted two actresses who were former Mormons who could make sure that they're being authentic was, again, was nice. Again, that's not something that you see often. And so it was, again, that's another thing about, again, how smart this was done is, again, it was done, they were trying to be as authentic and as genuine as they could.
Interesting. I will definitely when I rewatch this film, and I will definitely rewatch this film. I've only seen it once. I haven't seen it because I just recently watched it for the podcast. I've not seen it, but this is definitely going on my rewatch list. I'll tell you that right now. When I rewatch it, I'll have to take that in consideration because I had no idea. That will be interesting to rewatch it with having that information now to aid me. I'm already a Thatcher fan, so uh hey, this will just like kind of add to everything about this because I think that having that level of authenticity helps with all the mannerisms and small little things that these actors can do to bring their characters to life, which just adds more to their characterization on in front of the screen. um or like the general conversation that opened the film.
Uh,
I guarantee you when I rewatch it.
the other fun little note behind, I'm not sure.
What no?
The the other fun little thing is I'm not sure if you noticed this, Kevin, but during the end credits, there was a statement: no generative AI was used in the making of this film.
I did not see that. Really?
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because when the movie came out in 2024, AI was not at the time as hot topic as it is today in Hollywood. So it's funny how 2 years ago they put in that little line there at the end. Uh,
It was. It's more so now, but AI has been a topic of conversation for like the last 6 years in regards to both actors and writers strikes and negotiations. That is like the hot button topic in Hollywood in terms of all the unions. um Probably for lay people, really the last 2 years, like you were saying. But in terms of Hollywood movie making, it's been there for like the last 6 to 8 years. And it's a new technology that is so crazy right now that it's funny that they put it in there because I'm like, I think they put it in there kind of like a little stab at the artificiality of some of the stuff that happens in the third act of the movie. And so I just find it hilarious that you say that now because I did not see that. I think I turned the movie off at the end of the credits because I was like, my jaw had dropped and I was like, what the hell did I just see? This movie was great. What? I was like, because we've been talking about doing this film for a while now, and I kept putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. And I'm like, motherfucker, why did I put this movie off so long? This movie is great. I should not have put this movie off for so fucking long. I should have saw this when it came out. So I'm still mad at myself about that. So, as you can hear. All right. Anything else to add to our conversation here, Mr. Phillip?
nope.
All right. Well, it's been great talking with you about Heretic. I do hope that our listeners will seek this film out and that we will revisit this in a few years from now when we are allowed to speak out the freaking spoilers. Because I think this film right here will be a really good conversation when we're not afraid to reveal stuff to audience members. I think this is one of those films that we will talk about years from now, and it will be a really good movie for general audiences and horror fans. I already think it is, but I think this will be a really good topic of conversation for years to come. Not only because Hugh Grant's fucking fantastic, but I think everything that the filmmakers did and put in this movie is a testament to some of the great horror filmmaking that we see coming up and being made in this day and age. And I'm really excited to see more stuff like this being produced because it used to be that people stayed away from religion and horror unless it was demonic possession or exorcism based. I really like that this type of a topic was not attacked, but discussed for this film. So I'm looking forward to seeing what other people come up with in the future, if this is a testament to what we have to look forward to. With that, everyone who's listening, what we love to do is we love to rate our films between 1 and 5, 1 being poor, 5 being amazing, but we like to do something different by attributing our ratings to a particular object, quote, or saying. What is your rating, Philip, and what is your object, quote, or saying that you're going to attribute this movie for?
I give it 4 blueberry pies out of 5.
That's a damn good one too, damn it. Oh my god. So that makes mine that makes mine a lackluster. And I don't usually do many lackluster ones. But I'm gonna give it 4.5 martyrs in a basement. And that's one not nearly as good as your blueberry pie one, because I
You
wish
could have done Monopoly.
Oh damn it, I could have done Monopoly too. You're right, damn it.
You should have done 4.5 Bob Ross Monopolies out of 5.
I should have done that. Dude, I was rolling when that shit came out. I was rolling. I was like, oh, this is fucking brilliant conversation and metaphor that he's doing. And then he brings out the Bob Ross one. And I am fucking rolling, dude. I understand the concept going behind all of it, and it was made me laugh. Which is one of the things I think might get lost, is that there's a lot of humor. It's not like joke, laugh. It's humor, and it's really well done too. It's the way it's sprinkled in to this film. So,
yeah.
With that, I want to thank you all for listening to our episode of Conversation in Horror, in which we discussed the movie Heretic from 2024. We hope that you have enjoyed it, and you will seek out other amazing conversations that we had in the past. Our oeuvre of episodes is massive and extreme, and since we have been tackling more modern day films, you may find something that you even like and seen. From all of us here at Something Wicked of Entertainment, we hope that you will like, share, follow, subscribe, do that thing you do with your favorite podcast, your favorite podcast app, Spotify, or YouTube. And then also check out our other podcast, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, which is released every first and third Friday at 8 a.m. It's all about the Hammer Studio films from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And if you love classic horror films, you will love that podcast. From all of us here, please have a pleasant day, and we will see you on the next episode. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.